Thank you for introduction of our guests. Today's panel obligates us to discussing the preparation data for evaluation, and we also have this opportunity to discuss how openings, research projects affects the visibility of a university. So we have quite a few topics to discuss. We have 4 questions to each members of the panel. So let's look back a little bit to start with. And let's talk about the level of computerization at universities. Then we will talk about the evaluation itself, as we are halfway through it now. Then we will discuss the internationalization, and finally we would ask you about the issues that reach further than the standard scope. So my first question I address to Mr. Marek Michajłowicz from the Information Processing Center. Your institution is building an integrated system that will handle reporting scientific information, and at the end it will also be useful for evaluations. Are all these solutions required already built and available or not? Well, first of all, thank you very much for the invitation to this conference and an opportunity and pleasure to discuss my institution's achievements. Well, we focus on reporting scientific data and evaluation. So it would be best to answer the question by giving you some numbers. This year, we expect about 100,000 records, the metadata, to be published. A similar number was reported last year. So the system is working and it is fed with data all the time. With this size of scale of data, we cannot, of course, do it manually. So 80% of the data comes from the mass interfaces, API. It's the integration existing among universities. About 30% of other entities are using this resource, smaller or larger entities. So this is the answer to the question if we are ready to do the task. But as regards the ecosystem that was mentioned here, what it is? Well, in the previous evaluation, we have built an ecosystem that consisted of 3 components. Each of them will be involved in each next evaluation. The first stage here is what happens at the university, and that was a revolution. The universities made a number of investments in handling the scientific information and achievements. So this is where the information actually sits in the first place. The second part of the system is the integrated system of information for higher education called Polon. That's where the reports go. That's where the data are checked and verified and validated. And the third part is where we do some predictions, some evaluations. It's a number of systems we have built. It's the SEP system that evaluates information in Poland, then Radon system that allows you to get information from it. So a tool that helps to make decisions, and also there's an application that can be built based on the other parts of the system called ELA, and finally, the officially announced project called People of Science. That's the way in which we want to handle scientific information. Now back to the readiness and reporting process. The 100,000 of new publications published every year means that the system is working, that it handles the process smoothly, but before the system was made operational, about 500,000 publications were reported in 1 year. So we want to eliminate the backlogs and eliminate the peaks in which so many publications are being reported. We want the process to be more streamlined and smooth. Of course, the law requires complete data, etc., but we want to tell you and show to you what are the extra benefits of reporting data on the current basis in a complete way. So thank you for the numbers, thank you for your contribution, for what you told us. My second question I addressed to Madam Halina Bojkowska from the Jagiellonian University. Her university has a set of tools, from repository to integrators to the system that handles the reporting to the BBN in Poland. And you, madam, are using all these tools, right? Because you do a lot of reports and data analysis. Could you tell us what is your experience, how this set of solutions helps you to work and support your chancellor in his job? Well, let me start with the other end of it. First of all, great thanks to Mr. Chaya, who said that not all the data are absolutely necessary to be fed into the Poland. It is important for me, especially because I am the Poland coordinator. Right, before I answer your question, I want to say a few words about what the Office of Institutional Analysis actually does. It doesn't seem very fascinating, this name, but what it is. Well, we are producing a number of studies, analyses, and reports. We submit them to the school authorities, who use them as basis for many strategic decisions. We are not only serving the internal needs, but we also send our products to outside external government agencies, etc. We can do it because we use centralized data stored in 3 main university systems. USOS, the student data. SAP is the data of the staff and financial data, and it's the scientific research data. All these systems communicate with each other, and that's how it is possible that we can do all sorts of processing on that data. Apart from that, we cooperate with Clarivate and Elsevier. Based on the information we get from there, we can evaluate the position of my university in the world community of universities, and we can also, well, our our experience has become quite vast now because the reports, reference information we have allows us to identify areas which require some support and those which are developing very well and very fast. Apart from that, and apart from data we get relating to the research, we also have access to data that we use data and make sure that they are consistent with the binding law, and we make sure that these data are of top quality, and we are sure that the data we pass on are adequate and true and reliable. So that would be the introduction, and let's now talk about the space, perhaps very briefly. Well, the state border things, well, it's not now, okay? Well, but we do handle the data of this kind too. Well, the repository is an open tool for gathering and releasing digital resources of various institutions. A resource stored in that tool is the publications, other materials, research materials, and other digital resources. Well, I hate microphones, but anyway, this is a very handy tool because it collects and releases and archives data, which is very important for the university because these data are passed on further on. The most difficult thing is to get that data from the users. And here, the great role is, in my university, is played by the Jagiellonian library, which is building the digital collections. They have access to the system, they manage the system, and the library also cooperates with the users so that they are regularly feeding the data to the system, because that is a key thing and quite a difficult task. This space also allows us to get data from multiple sources, and that is important for the analysis and evaluations and for the research institution, because it makes possible to carry out a lot of analysis and to get a picture of different study fields, research projects. So it is a key solution in terms of the digitization of the university. Thank you. So the role of the individual structures of the university, we will come back to it perhaps later on. But let's now talk, Tomek, let's talk about what happened before. Your university, in a very short time of 2 years, went totally digital, and at the same time you have introduced a lot of other solutions, but you have successfully implemented solutions similar to those of the Jagiellonian University, but you did it very quickly. So how is it possible on the organizational side, because you need to face a lot of issues when doing such a process? Well, thank you. Well, three parts of my answer. One is the general thing. We need the pressure. We need to go open data. We need to open the data from different public institutions. In the scientific world, we are sometimes pressed not to copy, not to multiply the same data. whenever you can get information from some other research group, you can get it without duplicating it. So once you've got some data in a system, use that data. That is the main approach, main way of starting a digital revolution at the university. No, I will not dwell on the problem of the digitalizing community, but my role and my idea to tame that problem was when I came to the university at 2022. It was the university has just finished implementing a system delivered by PCG Academia, Science Cloud. It helps us a lot to do the evaluations. By the way, the measurement error was 1.5%, so this was an excellent result. But when I joined the organization, I was trying to do what is called stewardship, so that our faculty, our researchers feel that they are being taken care of. So it's not just you get a new system, you just do it, go and run it. No, that information was already present in the system. So all its affiliations and data were in this system. Whoever was using the ERP system will know that systems sometimes are whimsical. So we had a problem of the data quality, but we wanted to avoid multiplying data, meaning that we didn't want to get data, the same data from the same user again and again. Well, was said that the professors customized his data of the students, but it was not true. He didn't customize it, actually. He just obtained the sensitive data. That was all. So, we are sometimes selling ourselves and we get very little in exchange. That's the cost of the digital revolution. Thank you very much. So let's go on. I said that the second round of questions will be about our approach and perception of evaluation while it's halfway through. Marek, the BBN system in Poland during the previous evaluation were used to gather the data. So the question is simple. In current evaluation, do we need to accept any surprises here? What's your message? The message is that whether it's a revolution or not, yes, we want evolution. So the status quo should be continued. But what kind of effort has because the universities had to pay a lot of efforts before, so we do not want to blow it all up. So we have to respect some contracts. So whenever some changes are necessary for various reasons, we will always consult things like that, not to disrupt the continuity, not to rush certain things too much. So evolution is what we want. But, of course, when you discuss reporting or BBN, you cannot skip evaluation and the system that we've provided for the needs of serving the information systems. I will not even try to speculate in which direction this evaluation will go in future, but this is kind of an ecosystem whose two components are pretty stable, even if the changes, like point scoring for the periodicals, they should not have too much impact on the reporting. Yes, of course we will. There's no time to go slow with it, but we will make it available to you so that you can be able to prepare for it and simulate some potential results. But that is, some responsibilities here belong to the minister, of course. But what I have said so far does not mean that we are not planning any major significant changes in the data reporting system. No, it's not a contradiction, because we are not planning a change in the form of integration, but since we are starting the People of Science project, it is a strategic project, so we will have to report more data, not only those related to the publications, go to the evaluation, but all data from the scientists. And we are going to have a feedback here, because these data must be updated and adequate and reliable, because it's going to be a basis for preparing the profiles of the researchers as required by the ministry. So that will definitely cause some pressure on keeping the data updated and validated, at least in the area of publications. Thank you. So we can say that right now we are still discussing evolution, not revolution, okay?
Next question to Halina Bojkowska concerning this midterm evaluation. Jagiellonian University has a number of solutions that support collection of scientific information. We also remember that this is a very extensive organization. So could we hear what it looks like in the context of strategy building from the point of view of Jagiellonian University? This process well, I'm waiting for opening of the system, but in the meantime we're using modern data management tools like Science Cooperating with Dispense. This is a very modern tool in the academic community that enables data analysis. Well, science is more or less the system that facilitates access to all the data available, and also makes it possible to make them available outside. And the library also is available. There is an access to the system by heads of councils of individual disciplines. They can check the data collected from the point of view of disciplines. Also, the deans have access to the system. They can also make verification in terms of the employees, academic workers, employees, in the department. Also, the evaluation points that are visible make it possible to conduct analysis not only from the point of view of evaluations, but also the current monitoring of data. So all this shows that the university manages the data in science, not only in terms of very strict control, but also support, monitoring, and promotion of research activities. Thank you very much. And I have a similar question to you, Tomek, because as you've said, at the position that you've just taken, you finalized the process of the adoption of the solutions at the SWPS University. Of course, these solutions may differ in terms of the technology on the servers. Partly, this is a service model, and so how are such models accepted by universities? How did the university plan that? Well, going back to the beginnings, the analysis department or science management department was established because of the difficulties that we had with meeting the evaluation requirements around 2021. Part of the reporting obligations should be taken away from libraries. So like scientific information, for example, or analysis made based on the data collected by the university, the scientific achievements, publications, etc., require something more. There is more emphasis put on open science, availability of data, etc. So how we approached it is that on one hand, we wanted to have an open source solution, and there are several repository solutions available on the market. The one that we picked was interesting because it was an open source solution. And we installed it in situ on our university servers. It was connected to the cloud solution also, and these solutions work very well. Now the architecture of the system in SWPS system is more complex, as I have mentioned. As I have mentioned before, other systems like the personal system, etc., those are also connected to the structure. And we also have something that it's like an interface between these solutions. We needed these solutions to communicate all the time. If not for the openness of this space, this wouldn't be possible. So that helped us. Well, in the past, we also used other solutions available on the market, more closed, more difficult. We now have, of course, other data waiting to be taken care of. What was also helpful in the case of Science Cloud was the policy of the supplier, updating of data, keeping the system up to date. This is very important for the simulation of evaluation results and some forecasting activities. How much we still have to do. So this really matters, so that there are no surprises at the end of the day, that something is missing. So as for the system architecture, we've been able to create one window where we have access to 5 services. So what's missing to have a full ideal situation is signing of affiliation statements. If these are provided, then we have a full online system with no paper used. Well, of course, we collect the statements because also of personal turnover, because according to the regulations, you need to collect such statements only once per an evaluation system, but in reality it's more complex. So, well, of course, we've had some young age diseases, but I didn't see anybody trying to take me out of this office forever, my office of forever, like it was in the case of the ERP system. So both the Jagiellonian University and SWPS University are very aware of what should be done, sending quite a lot of data. So those universities who are aware know that sooner or later they will have to implement that, so it's better to get ready earlier. I think that we may now pass to the third round of questions. Here we would like to talk about internationalization, promotion of research abroad, because if we already have the data in order, something should be done with them for them to be used. So let's open the Greece round. The first question to you, Marek. You've mentioned people of science. So this is generally a simple question, whether the implementation of the people of science system will mean other reporting obligations. Well, you've partly answered this question already, but we would like to know more. And is building of CRIS systems on the side of the universities goes in parallel to the ministerial system, or do these solutions are mutually exclusive, or what does it look like? Well, let me start with saying that this is not going to be yet another system that you will have to report to. This is a very nice idea, actually, very close to my heart. The approach to data collection is completely different than for the Poland system. I share the view that Poland system is overregulated, although it contains quite a lot of interesting data. Well, if these are the data to be used by the ministry for evaluation purposes, yes, the amount of data is too big. But if we take into account the international situation, the different European groups or organizations that we participate in, they emphasize the value of what has been created in Poland. The symbiosis between the central systems and CRIS-type systems in universities is quite valuable. Well, of course, the scope of data that we collect is really impressive. Now, the big achievement of Director Wawer, who really convinced the management to implement the system. The thing is that we assume that this will be used as a service, the set of e-services for scientists. So we're involving this person in the ecosystem. So CRIS itself will depend on the existence of CRIS systems in universities. So registering the information in one place will then flow through the system. So there will be symbiosis. Now, we are going to use the data from our ministerial databases, and we will try to also use other sources. So we're going to look at the Crossev database, and we will try to integrate the information and give it back to the system, and the information will be validated also. First of all, we want to establish the kind of a business card of the scientist or researcher. The second element will be to reduce bureaucracy, that is, to establish the services that will support or digitize the process of grant applications, for example. And the third element is to have a reliable source of information about experts in individual fields available. So can a given person be taken seriously into account when looking for a reviewer, etc.? So all this is based on the analysis of what we have now, because we want to use the potential of the tools that have already been produced to the greatest possible extent. Now, apart from that, we have applications for grant servicing. We wanted to support researchers in exchange of information about their achievements and works when they seek grants from, for example, the National Science Center, etc. We also have the systems like electoral systems. We've done that already. So this is the starting point for combining the information, putting the information together. This will be a key element of the system, combining the information between different systems. This will be a good experience. The original assumption was to use the state registers, not to force the citizens to verify the information multiple times. Now we have the snowball effect, and I hope that also in our project we'll achieve a similar result. Okay, we accept this declaration. All right, let us now discuss the universities. We know what the ministry's plan is, and now I have a question to Halina Bojkowska about how the Jagiellonian University intends to develop its system. Because, well, the internal integration, having the tools available, all this is ready, but probably we would like to take a look at the data used in the global scale, cooperation with the suppliers who can offer global information. So the tools that you have available now, do they allow for that, or what are the plans? Well, all this sounds beautiful. I think that the integration of the science system and integration with systems like Elsevier has, for example, it's very important. Both systems provide us with lots of information, and they make it possible to use different indicators that they have, like the average number of quotations, etc., etc. These can be used to evaluate and monitor the research activity. The integration with this system is of great importance for us as the university, because we have access to the latest data, and both systems make sure that the information is updated on an ongoing basis. So, of course, reliability and accuracy of data is very important, the data of the highest quality. So also the confidence in the data offered by the system is growing. Comparability is also of importance. It's possible to conduct different types of analysis, and competitiveness The indicators offered by both systems make it possible to evaluate the scientific achievements and works of people working for a given university. We also have access to reliable and accurate information, internationally recognized data, and this makes it possible to evaluate scientific achievements of a given university. And thanks to that, we are not behind as far as the international standards are concerned. Well, thank you very much. It's very good that we have everything ready, and now it's actually worth using the external sources, and hence this verification of global suppliers is also important for universities. Tomek, a similar question to you. As we've noticed, you have a similar ecosystem, but we know that your aspirations are very broad. You're also part of the network of European universities, which probably is also of importance in the context of building of systems that support internationalization of universities. Well, this is true. Just one comment. The people of science, I remember that that project was actually criticized 5 years ago when the law was prepared. It was going to be replaced by something else, but now we're back to the people of science. Hopefully it will work, but I'm full of concerns. Now, what I would like to suggest, and we'll probably start with it, results from my North European experiences. What would be necessary would be to develop a national standard for the quality of data, like, for example, for CRIS systems, so that we know how to write the data in order for the data to be useful for the future ministerial systems. The data should be made useful and not lead to additional reporting obligations. Because if you have to provide data to the National Center for Research and Development, the Central Statistical Office, Polon, etc., these are the same data. I mean, the tables only slightly differ, and now try not to make a mistake. So maybe during the next Lumen, we could discuss it. If we go towards the current research information system, the CRIS systems, we should decide what data standard we should use in order for the data to be useful. We have the European Reform University Alliance. They have their institutional repositories according to different standards. Some of them are like, Windows 95, but there are also more modern ones. So the openness of the system and the possibility to create maybe a search engine as part of such an alliance would be of importance. But this has to be based on open sources. Now, as for the trends that are reflected in the regulations, but not at the Parliamentary Act level, like on the one hand, we have different suggestions by the European Commission. We also have some requirements related to National Research Center grants. So it's important to do a lot in order for this to be registered in the databases, to follow the FAIR principles. So this is how we proceed. And this does not result from our own interest, but also from our own needs. Those who have money, those who provide grants, also shape our behaviors on the repository markets. What is also important is a new trend that is an attempt to repeat what Coalition S has been for the last several years, or the TOR consortium, that is looking for alternative methods of evaluation to evaluate the quality of research activities.
So it's a kind of a new trend, and we need to remember that Europe marches on very fast. Regulations sometimes lag behind. No wonder that happens, but we should also watch whatever happens at the European level. So when building a system, gathering the data, well, they need to be useful. They must be good for being used by others. Because otherwise, it's pity to spend money on that, the taxpayers' money. Now, with time, it's short now, so let's now have the continuation of the subject. Tomek, go on, please. And as we can see, your university is deeply involved and pretty advanced in using these systems. So, Tomek, what is the plan? What your university is doing with those systems? The staff are being involved more and more in using this system, in getting access to the data. It seems that a key word here is transparency. The organization and university should be open, but also transparent inside for its staff. Yeah, reporting, evaluations, all right, but what we've done in the recent weeks is we opened the Science Cloud for the staff so that they know what the picture actually is, so that they know that this is their achievements. If they did not submit some report, they should do so, because people sometimes forget doing these things. So transparency inside the organization is important, and on integration and honesty and the sense of being taken care of. It's always human beings behind everything we do. It may be the editor, it may be data curator, whoever it is a human being. So you know that in my university it's always some people, and it's not AI generated people, it's human beings, right? So I think that this is where we are heading for. Of course, we are looking around, and we would appreciate the ministry to do the good financial programming for it, because there was just one competition, I think, on the European level for getting funds. We have done it on our own, but regional initiative of excellence was involved. Okay, we have to finish now, so the 1 minute each. Halina Bojkowska first. How can data be used in another way? Well, my office, we are preparing data, bibliometric data for the whole university, and it is important to manage the data and to give access to them, not only to the staff members, but it should be open in general. So everything should be updated, and integration with external system cannot be avoided. even the midterm evaluation of the project confirms it, because part of data in it was obtained from external sources. And Marek, opening data, further accessibility, and a closing comment from you, please. Well, we do not think we are the sole owners of the data we have, because these are the data of the people, of the ministry, and other entities. So we believe in the idea of opening data, especially the government data. And an example of this is the Radon platform, in which all the data can be collected, can be integrated into your systems, and the knowledge, science metric data included. So we should not just be an institution that offers and provides IT systems. We should also be kind of a source of expert knowledge to be used by the ministry. So we will share our knowledge with you in a kind of democratic way.